going to be a 3-point checklist. There's a lot of reasons for this. There's peer-reviewed literature out there. By accelerating through the finish, I am going to throw an absolute nuke down this fairway. It sounds super silly, like some Disney Channel commercial business, but it works, I promise.
mph.
Hey everyone, hope you're having a wonderful day whenever you're catching this video, and welcome to the tutorial on how to throw hard and straight in the woods, hopefully missing the trees, not doing the classic first available. So if you like more videos like this, you want to see more long throwing in the woods, more tutorials, please subscribe to my channel. And as always, I'm going to have video chapters so you can skip around to each respective section in the video if there's a certain part you're more interested in. Definitely encourage you to do so. Before I get into the main content of the video, I want to talk about some credibility stuff. I normally try to avoid this kind of talk like the plague. I really don't want to talk myself up in any way, but I figure it would be valuable in this video because I'm kind of known as just the guy that goes out to the field and just throws distance lines with no regard for accuracy. So just some quick background. One of the strengths of my game, as surprising as it may seem to a lot of folks, is my gap hitting ability and ability to throw straight in the woods. I tried to figure out why this was. A lot of it is because my pull through is really straight, which is conducive to hitting gaps. And then a lot of it has just been how my form development has blossomed over the years, and especially over this past year. And I'd rather be judged by my peers on this than talk about myself. Part of the reason I want to make this video is because I was playing with Kevin Kiefer, who's a Pro Tour player that also plays with Paul McBeth quite often. So he's seen one of the best woods players in the world in Paul, and Kevin himself is also very good in the woods. And he told me, granted, he's a super nice guy, he's a fan of my channel, but he told me that he felt like my driving and gap hitting was pretty much Pro Tour level, and it's really just my putting, which might not be a surprise to anyone as well, that holds me back. I just shot in my first tournament a couple weeks ago. I shot 962 rated. First tournament ever, and my driving was quite good in the woods. I really just putted like garbage because of tournament nerves. So regardless, I'm definitely not the best in the world, nowhere near Simon or Paul or those types of guys in the woods, but there is some things in my form and my mental approach that I think lend themselves well to throwing straight and far in the woods. I've thrown up to 550, you know, on a medium wooded hole like this one, and I could regularly throw over 500 and not hit any, you know, of the trees. But I really spent some time studying and wanting to reverse engineer the best players in the world at throwing far in the woods, as well as why my form naturally lends itself well to that. And that's what we're going to get into in this video. But I'm going to give you guys some easy, actionable mental execution and physical execution. And then later in the video, we will talk about some troubleshooting if you have common misses, and disc selection, angle selection, so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so getting right into the tutorial here. The first thing we're going to talk about is mental execution, and then I'll tell you guys about physical execution. So mental execution, this is going to be sports psychology, mindset-based stuff. And the big mantra and mindset that we're going to use as our home base here that we're going to center on is going to be fearless commitment to your shot and to the gap that you are hitting with your throw. We want to trick ourselves into having zero fear of any bad outcomes. We want to be completely detached from bad outcomes. And we want to visualize the line that our disc is going to take through the woods, and then basically just go full send and have zero care in the world. Fearless commitment is going to give you the best results. There's a lot of reasons for this. There's, you know, peer-reviewed literature out there talking about why this helps. There's also high-level players that just figured this out themselves, and anecdotally it's well supported. But when I visualize my line through the woods, I want to feel what it's going to feel like during my visualization to put the disc out there. And then I want to look forward to hitting that line and putting on a show for everyone that's around me. I do not want to be scared of any bad outcome or embarrassing myself. The moment you are scared or worried about embarrassing yourself or hitting a tree is the moment that you have already failed your shot before you even go through the routine. So fearless commitment, just get in the habit of doing it in general in disc golf, but especially for throwing hard in the woods, you need to have complete and utter confidence in yourself. Otherwise, your body's going to change its mechanics, and it might not work out as well as if you were confident in it. You've thrown enough frisbees, your body has thrown a gazillion frisbee throws. It knows how to throw the disc on the correct angle and the correct line to hit the gap and to get the disc down the fairway. All you have to do is get out of its way, get out of your conscious mind and let your muscle memory and your body's athletic abilities to take over. This includes not looking at the trees that you're worried about hitting. The human phenomenon, target fixation. If I'm looking at a tree like that one to the left, on the left side of the fairway, if I'm looking at that, my body's going to target fixate on it, and my chances of hitting that tree have massively increased. That tree is going to turn into a disc magnet. So do not do that. Also, really try to avoid any negative, got some flies flying on me. Try to avoid negative self-talk and get in the habit of using positive self-talk. I am the greatest in the world. I am going to hit this gap. I am going to throw an absolute nuke down this fairway. It sounds super silly, like some Disney Channel commercial business, but it works, I promise. Okay, now getting into the physical execution component of it, the fun part. It's going to be a 3-point checklist that we want to go through before we execute our practice swing and then our drive. It's going to be keep your body low and level, move straight to the target, and build rhythm through the release. It's going to be the 3 points that we want to execute upon for our practice swing. Now, you don't have to remember all those when you're actually throwing. Ideally, you're not going to be thinking about anything when you're throwing. We want to use that checklist to build a mental model and go through our visualization on the practice swing, so then we can fearlessly commit that and execute it on the throw itself. So what I mean by low and level is when we're throwing in the woods, oftentimes we have a lower ceiling. So ideally, we're not going to have too much up and down motion in our body. Now, there are exceptions to this. Garrett Gerthy is great in the woods. He has a very vertical style brace and throwing motion. Calvin Heimberg has a swoopy early pull through. Those guys are incredible athletes. They're extremely skilled in their form. They've been throwing the same way for many, many years, and they make it work because their fundamentals are very sound. With that being said, we want to make things as easy as possible on ourselves. And so if we keep things level and low to the ground with our body, we have nice horizontal leverage for our entire throwing motion, which is going to help us accelerate the disc horizontally on a flat shot that's not going to be more prone to going up into the ceiling of the fairway or into the ground. That's why we stay low and level. Straightforward to the target is going to be pertaining towards the left to right confines of the fairway. So we don't want to take an archy path across the tee pad. We don't want to have extreme stagger on our plant either, because if we have extreme stagger on our plant, we're more prone to our center of mass falling behind our plant and yanking over and having more of a 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock release, which can cause us to miss to the right. So that's why we want to stay as straightforward to the target with our motion as possible. Building rhythm through the release. This is going to be something that helps you throw close to your power ceiling without having launch angle inconsistencies creep into your form. So sometimes when we throw hard, we take advantage of gravity and we drop down into the brace. We can get extra power from that. But if you look at the best guys at throwing hard in the woods, Eagle, Simon, Paul, Garrett again, even though he's an exception, and Calvin as well. Those guys have impeccable timing in the way that they build rhythm through the release. And you'll notice sometimes those guys will actually kind of flow through the brace on their follow through. You often will not see them over bracing and ending up behind the brace on the follow through. And that's because they're building rhythm through the target. They still have plenty of power to get the job done, but by accelerating through the finish, rather than accelerating, decelerating, accelerating again, they're able to stay closer to their power limit while keeping everything very consistent on the line and angle that they want to push the disc on. I want to give a quick example of going through the checklist and then doing a practice swing to go through the visualization before my throw. So again, 3 components: low and level, straightforward to the target, and then I'm building rhythm through the finish, not to the finish, through the finish. Like that. So I will do a practice swing where I'm exaggerating these components. Okay, it felt pretty good. So once you do the practice swing, go into the throw. And I don't want this to get too murky in terms of, oh, we have this mental stuff that we talked about and this physical stuff. How do we do all that at the same time? Ideally, you want to kind of maintain that mindset during the rounds, the mental execution stuff. And then once you go into your practice swing, that's where we want to kind of switch over to making sure that we're hitting those fundamentals in that 3-point checklist that we put together. So on this shot, I'm actually aiming up the left side so I can get some hyzer flip and some ride to the right before I fade out into that clearing. Trying to use the full width of it, making sure I'm not yanking over to the right or anything like that. Just letting the disc do the work for me. Getting into a fearless, confident mindset. I'm looking forward to a good outcome here rather than being scared of a bad outcome. Going through my pre-throw checklist and practice swing. Then I'm going to send it. The thing was demolished. Got some weird air bounces and an unfortunate drop at the end, but I'll get the distances for you guys. I'll rangefinder verify everything. Let's send one a little bit harder with a more stable disc. A little more up the right side than I wanted. I think I probably cranked on it a little bit too hard and yanked it over. So if I'm adjusting during a practice round after that, I want to make sure I'm pushing the disc to the 10 o'clock rather than yanking it over to the target and to the right. Okay, I wanted to do a quick section on talking about disc selection and line selection, throwing a flippy disc on a hyzer flip versus throwing a more overstable disc, flat or even anhyzer. From a physics perspective and an aerodynamics perspective, more understable discs generally have more capacity to fly straight because they have less low speed fade. So they're going to be a little bit easier to keep straight in the woods. But the big caveat there is that's assuming you're comfortable throwing a hyzer flip on a low line, which does require more glute strength, more hip strength, hamstring strength, and a stronger trunk and core as well. So with that being said, more understable discs are usually going to have a little more glide, fly a little bit straighter for longer in the woods, but that's assuming that it's compatible with your body's strengths and weaknesses and movement preferences. So definitely work within the preferences of your body. Long term, you can push towards throwing more of those low hyzers, but it's totally not necessary. See guys like Gannon and AB throw really well with more stable discs on flatter to more anhyzer releases. So there's going to be that interplay between what's optimal from a physics perspective and what's optimal for your body, and try to find that best combination of the two. So to close it out, I wanted to talk about troubleshooting, if you have any recurring or common misses in your game. So the first of which is going to be if you're throwing too high, or if you have a miss where you sky the disc up into the ceiling. If that's happening, check out some side view, a face-on side view of your throw, and see if you are staying too far back behind the brace. So if we have a face-on view and I'm throwing that way, over there, if you see yourself on those throws kind of finishing like this, and you're either following through here or your body's just leaned back for the entire throw, that's going to be something where, to correct it, you want to get a little bit more low and push yourself forward to the target with more intensity. So I want to really stay low and push myself forward to the target. That's going to help you project the disc forward and horizontally rather than your brace and rearward tilt, increasing your launch angle and hitting the ceiling. Probably the most common miss in the woods and just in general is the yank over to the right, the late release. There's a few different reasons for this one, but the most common one is going to be usually over rotation of the body later in the throw. So if my shoulders are opening up a lot at the end of the throw, my pull through basically gets rounded over to the right. So if I'm throwing down the fairway, it would be like this, and the disc just comes out late. That's one common fix for that to try. The other one is to reduce grip tension or try to relax your grip a little bit. And then another potential fix is to just cue sending your arm to the 10 o'clock. You'll probably see this in overthrows, videos with Mikey. If you send your arm to the 10 o'clock and your body's working well, usually you'll push the disc pretty straight, assuming you have that common miss to the right that you're trying to fix. If you really need to go full nuclear on it because you have a really bad rightward yank or late release, I would use a combination of relax your grip tension, don't grip the disc as hard, anchor your back shoulder, stop your shoulders from rotating in the brace, and you're doing those to send your arm to the 10 o'clock. Those are going to be the biggest things that will move the needle in fixing that rightward late release. If you're having a leftward release or the disc is coming out earlier, first thing I would try is just tighten up your grip tension a little bit. If that one doesn't work, then we need to move to the bigger parts of the body to fix that early release, and we want to deepen the coil. So if I'm throwing that way, I want to turn my shoulders back even further. That's going to give me a longer, smoother acceleration pattern on the disc, and it's going to give me more time to get the disc to the pocket so that it's not coming in early and then bouncing out to the left. And then another miss, not super common, but it does happen sometimes. Also, to me, it happens sometimes, is just throwing the disc really low, straight into the dirt in front of you, 25, 50 feet, whatever, in front of the T-pad. The reason it happens for me usually is when my timing's a little bit off, and I kind of just get over the brace too much and just throw downward. This one could be a combination of a bunch of things. If you have a really high reach back and you're just sending your arm downward, that's going to probably be the most obvious and easiest fix. Sometimes it can also be because you plant too short because you didn't take the correct steps up to your lie. And if I plant too short, my body ends up kind of just collapsing over and heaving downwards into the ground. And that's something that'll just happen randomly every once in a while, especially if you're throwing from an awkward fairway lie. So unless this miss is happening often, I wouldn't try to completely rework your throwing mechanics because of it. Okay, so that does it for the throwing far and straight in the woods tutorial. Really hope you guys enjoyed it and there was something of value in there to help you out. Please leave some comments. Let me know what you thought about it. If there's some feedback you have, something that helps you throw far and straight in the woods, and also any next video ideas or requests that you would like to see from me for tutorials of this type. Please let me know, because your feedback honestly is the most valuable thing for me to make helpful videos for you guys. So with that, hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.